And now, thank you very much. Would you welcome back to our stage Isabel Bermudez?
Hello again, everybody. I'll start with a poem for Simon. I began writing again after I got together with him, and it's called Butterflies at Beachy Head. Butterflies at Beachy Head. I know why I come here with you, to walk among tortoise shells and common blues, early blackberries and yellow poppies, a pilgrimage of sorts. On one side a stretch of undulating grass, on the other a chalk drop. The heart planes and glides, lunges, then withdraws with a fulmer's reach, ignores with well-trodden paths, steers perilously close to the crumbling edge, where a salt wind tugs at August grass. Lost to the pull of the sea, they go to ground, then one step ahead, dancing blue, they give the slip again, force concentration till the eye is bleached, and this seems all there is, grass, sea, cliff. Then, like finding a single needle in this long hot summer, brown underside of folded speckled wing, a gift of hidden colour, clinging to a single stem. My next poem is about a rather rough time I had in my late teens and early 20s, and it speaks for itself really. It's called Night Nurse. Night Nurse. They lived on the fringes of London, travelled in on the thunder of tube trains. The small mercy of a biscuit, sometimes a muted radio, brought us together. In the little room, they were all the same. Desk, kettle, filing cabinet, and thank you cards for the regular staff pinned to the wall. I'd ask about their studies, their wives and children. Then, pills stowed under my tongue, drugged silence on the wing at 2 or 3 a.m., with me still talking and their eyes glazed over, when they stifled a yawn because they were thinking of the morning or gentle sleep, of all the studying still waiting to be done, or chores, or the journey home. That moment when distance was greatest was when I envied them their lives most, like a hard, bright stone, the foreignness of their everyday, in the slow advance of dawn. I came across a photograph of the sculptress Camille Claudel, which was taken at an asylum near Avignon, where she was incarcerated for over 30 years, and I wrote this poem for her, Camille Claudel. There's dirt under her nails from the vegetable patch, one hand lies in the other, a forefinger keeping company with a thumb. She hasn't touched a chisel in 30 years, her old life in Paris, her workshop, wine, Rodin, her lover, have been gone a long time. She could go home if her family would sign the papers, if Paul, her brother, diplomat, poet, would let her. She has no interest in art of any kind, all that's over. She lives at ground level, digging potatoes, doing bits of sewing. She writes letters sometimes, just a few lines, but there her story, resting in her lap, ordinary. We dog sit every year for my brother-in-law and his family for their greyhound. They have a dog, and we go down to Kent, in the mid-Kent, and dog sit for them. And we walk their dogs in the orchards, which is sometimes something you don't get in Orpington where we live. And this poem is about their dog, called Racer. She trembles when she sleeps, shudders towards the track, chasing the lure, all haunch, ears back, reliving the roar of an evening crowd, smell of beer, glint of signet ring, shadows of men who trained her. 6 races won, second twice, but in the orchards of her later years, she keeps to the path, never long out of sight. A year or so ago, she might have hared after rabbit, disappeared under apple trees, a streak of flank among the green. Now, is it death she sees, when she stares into a field of baby rabbits and barely stirs? At home, lies there, dreams, crosses and uncrosses, long fawn legs, or rests her head in my lap, for no other reason than affection, it seems, till she hears the jangle of collar and catch. Then she's out again under Kent apple trees, to mooch round windfall in evening sun, her leaves swinging empty from my hand, nose to the ground, riddling old scents, trailing the trigger of the starter's gate in the haze of the finish line. September's first chill meets August's ripe breath. There's another grim one coming. It's called Grimm's Pound. Up on Dartmoor there's a Bronze Age village which is on the map and not very well signposted, but the remains of a Bronze Age village. And I went there, it's very moving, and wrote this poem called Grimm's Pound. Such desolation here, such emptiness, where a path leads down from Hooky Tor to the near-perfect circle of an outer wall. Stones have tumbled, spread like petals, eased now, stretched into this present. Inside, the ghosts of small huts, their ancient hearths still visible, and everywhere, summer's tiny flame of yellow gorse clings to mealy soil. Wind runnels over granite, rock and grass, as if to recall each boulder to its wall, each door jamb to its door. The stunted blackened rowan into bloom, bring ancient woods of oak and willow into leaf, wake sleeping beauty from the stones. Such desolation here, such emptiness. In a black patch of ash where some campers laid a fire, only sheep, distracted from their grazing, scratch against rough bark. Shadows flee the hills in tall pools, and the ancestors look down from clouds whose time-old shapes, full-bellied pot, wooden ship, beaker, torque, spear or horse's head, fill the quick-running sky, only to evaporate as sun reclaims the clouds, and once again the moor is bathed in light. And finally, to go back to the very beginning, a poem about Spain. This is the last poem I'm going to read tonight, and it's called Old Spain. Niños, children, reads her note. He salido aprovechando el buen tiempo para dar una caminata. I've gone out, making the most of this good weather, for a walk around Toledo. La abuela, leaning on a parapet with her wide hips, the Tagus with its ancient bridge below, thinks of lunch and her grandchildren arriving from Madrid, of winter ending so late, and she still standing. That in a month they'll be everywhere, on old walls, roofs, palace buildings, along motorways and country roads, knee-high poppies, daisies, purple mallow. Except last year it didn't rain at all, there was barely a flower. Partridges and rabbits had nothing from the dusty earth, and the goldfinch, like a refugee from paradise, searched here and there for thistledown, picked at seeds from rare teasels, beat its wings in dry air. La abuela stood at the parapet and heard its song of empty fields, forest fires and dried-out riverbeds. Agua, it said, agua, agua, all summer long, till finally in January the rains came. Llegó la primavera, spring's arrived, she says to a stranger, gazing out, and he nods back, same as he would any other year, as if with this nod everything was set right, the fields once more flowering at the appointed time, and the earth finding itself in tune, as if Sundays were always this, church and then grandchildren coming to lunch, alive with customs that are dying out, or worse, like the ferias, become fakery for tourists and strangers. Old Spain. Sometimes they ask her about it, in between internet and mobile phones, in a game like the one where they stare through the rear window at receding cars, their faces pressed against the glass, speeding on ahead, leaving it far behind, that other country, forgetting it as quickly as that bunch of lilies they give her when they arrive, not knowing that today has been all about flowers, as she hurries to put them in water, find a vase. Thank you very much.
wonderful poetry from Isabel Bermudez. Some more applause, please. Thank you.
Fall over when he gets up.
And now, to round off our September Songs evening, please welcome back Zolan Quabble. Here he is.
This is difficult to say. You notice there are things you don't notice. You can't remember in which pocket you put the key,